Welcome back to another video, guys. Special guest here with us today. We have a Canadian native, and he is now playing Division Two in Sweden in a pro league. And my former teammate on my Kamoka King team, we have Austin Maietta. And Austin, thanks for joining us today, buddy.
Hey, no problem. It's always a great to reconnect with some former teammates. Definitely love to come on. So thanks for having me.
Of course, my pleasure too. And we'll hop right into our first question, just talking a little bit about, where you're born and raised and started playing your minor hockey career.
Yeah, so I was born in Markham, Ontario. And my early years, about 4 to 6 years old, my really early minor hockey career started in Scarborough in the Scarborough Hockey Association, which doesn't exist anymore, I believe. I think it partially merged with the GTHL. So I started my early hockey development there in early house league days before joining the Markham house leagues. And then basically from there, played a couple of years of house league, and then I think it was minor Adam was my first year of rep hockey. I started playing for the Markham Waxers, and then I was with the Markham Waxers all the way up until Bantam. Playing through the whole ranks basically, AE, AA, a little bit of AAA, and yeah, and then eventually you make your way to junior.
Yeah, it kind of sounds a little bit like my story. I played AE for quite a few years and then jumped up to AA and AAA. So I guess we were more late bloomers growing up.
Yeah, it's all about the progressing as the years goes on, right?
Exactly. Everyone starts at a different starting position, right?
Yeah, exactly. Some coaches might view you differently as a kid, might not think you're ready for whatever A from AE or double A, whatever. But at that young age, it doesn't really matter what level you're playing, honestly, as long as you're, of course, number one, most important, you're having fun, you're enjoying playing hockey. And then number two, are you developing as a player, getting those basic skills? That's the most important part. So if you're playing at a level where, you're not having fun, or, you're not able to compete every time you're on the ice, then there's no point of really playing it. You want to play somewhere where you can play well, have some competition, and then ultimately, try to be the best player on the ice if you can.
I 100% agree with that. That was very well put. And I agree. As long as you're playing, having fun, pushing yourself, that's what it's all about, especially at that age. And um, I didn't start playing junior till my third year into juniors, but you hopped right in, I think, when you were 16, right?
Yeah, I was actually 15 years old. Instead of playing minor midget, I played in the GMHL, the Outlaw Junior A League. So that was like a huge step going from minor hockey into that league at a young age. And back in that day, actually, it was like pretty skilled league. Just, there was a lot of Europeans who came over, some overage junior guys, because you got an extra overage year in that league, obviously. So you got guys who are 21 turning 22. They're men out there basically, and I'm just a kid still at 15. So definitely pushed me to progress even more throughout the years, work on my strength, and just try to compete as much as I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, you started and you stayed there. So, I mean, that's a good indication that you're holding your own at least. And then you found your way from the GMHL to my league, the Gouge.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say really anything bad about that league, honestly. Like the Gouge, I tell, a lot of kids younger than me right now, if you get the chance, play in that league. First year out of midget, or even your first year midget if you're good enough to play, but definitely I'd consider playing in the Gouge for a year or two, and then maybe try to make a jump to a tier two league or even major junior. Because I think the Gouge is a great development league, and it's almost on par with like the OJ and like other leagues in Canada. And I've been a suitcase in junior, so I've played in a good amount of leagues, so I can tell you from personal experience, where the Gouge is at with the other junior leagues, and it's not far off, or it's right there with it.
Yeah, I found the league was like a lot of older guys that have been playing in the league for a while, or a couple young studs that were high draft picks that were trying to make an O team. So, I mean, you got a good combination of older players and younger guys. So um, I think it's a good league as well. And like you said, you're not really going to commit, out of the Gouge. So I definitely agree with trying to get to a tier 2 league like out west or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well,
Um,
I don't know if you play. Didn't you play McAllister?
yeah, yeah, I played with McAllister.
You committed out of Kamoka, I'm pretty sure, and then I'm pretty sure I just saw you had 100 points or something in Brooks or something like that's insane.
Oh, I know. So he was a super skilled player, and he was a pretty rare case. Like, I don't really know anyone else who committed out of the Goach, but I mean, there's a reason why he went to Alberta and played in that tier 2 league there because the team wanted him to develop in that league, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely there's still opportunity to commit out of the Gouge. I know there's a few other guys. If you're a young guy and you're putting up points, you're gonna get some looks from the schools for sure.
I definitely think I know Callie has an agent. I think that definitely helped in his circumstance, getting the schools up there and seeing them.
But you can for sure get some U Sports offers out of the Gouge too as an older player. D3, obviously. I was talking to some D3 schools out of my last year in the Gouge, but decided to go the pro route instead.
I mean, I was only thinking like playing for maybe Western or a university in Canada or D3. So how did you come about figuring out how to get over there in Sweden? What went into that?
Well, I had my brother there, so my brother's probably even better story than mine is playing AEA. He only played 1 year double A actually, and that was his last year of midget. And then he started in the GMHL, just kept getting better and better. He was a really late bloomer as well. And then eventually he had a friend playing in the Swedish team that we were on last year, the year before he was there, and he said, "Hey, like my manager, like for you to come out and play following year." So of course my brother went there, uh, and they were in Division 3 at the time actually. So he went there for his first year, and he actually set a franchise record there for points in a season. And then they got promoted to the second division. So my brother was one of their better players, and then the manager saw that he had a younger brother playing as well. So he was actually in contact with me a little bit younger, like when I was still playing junior, seeing if I'd be interested in going out there. At the time, I was leaning more towards school hockey, so I was like kind of, I don't want to say ignoring it, but like I kind of want to play school hockey. But then when the time came, my overage year, I decided to finally just go with it, give it a try.
Have both the meatheads playing on the same team?
Yeah.
Definitely as you get older and older, those options I find seem to, depending on how you're doing, they start to close and close, right? And maybe you're like, I don't know if I really want to go play D3 or, be a fourth line player on a, you know, university team in Ontario or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. At the school level, you're obviously most guys are not going to be able to jump in, even get a chance in the lineup. They might start off as a scratch their first year or two, and they're going to be playing a role their first couple of years until maybe their last year they finally get a shot in the top six. But you got to be able to adapt in hockey, right? So if you're used to scoring goals or whatever, making plays, sometimes you got to step back and play that more defensive role. Killing penalties, blocking shots. Just being a good all around team player. And that's where I kind of found myself towards the end of my junior career. I didn't, yeah, I had the offensive ability, but my role became more of a shutdown centerman and penalty killer. And I think I did that pretty well, which, helped me adapt to playing in Sweden now for sure.
Yeah, I definitely remember like you coming to our team and just being super reliable out there. Like we weren't really worried about getting scored on or anything like that. We knew you were going to shut down all the lines, and you're still producing points as well. So I think that obviously helps having an all around game, learning, how to be defensive, how to be offensive as a forward. Um, I'm sure like playing against older guys, you kind of have to be like that.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, sometimes for people, obviously the offensive instinct comes easier, more naturally, and then the higher you go, the coaches are going to tell you, hey, you're a good player offensively, but got to work on your defensive side of the game to, progress your level, get to that next level by being better defensively.
And I guess so, as a good example, since you've played both in, Canada and as in Sweden, how do the leagues differ and what's the experience like, playing out there?
Oh, it's a completely different world out here compared to Canada, that's for sure. Especially in terms of hockey, like out in Canada, usually the rinks are, 200 by 85 length or even smaller. There's some small rinks in the Goj, like in Strathroy or Chatham or whatever. But out in Europe, it's Olympic ice, 200 by 100. It's a lot of skating out there. I find a lot of the games here, where in Canada it's like, north, we call it north-south hockey, where the puck just, we try to move it up the ice the whole time. Here, a lot of it's a lot of side to side passes or a lot of regroups. Guys try not to dump the puck in too much, try to, gain possession, but sometimes you just got to get it in deep and get after it. As like, I like to tell my teammates, sometimes you just got to get it in and go get it, even though may not be used to it. But yeah, it's a big difference in terms of physicality too. Not really that physical out here. No one really hits as much, or else you're going to be pretty winded out there if you're trying to chase guys on the forecheck, trying to take the body and all that. So it's more of a speed and skill game out here, that's for sure.
Well, that was definitely the rumor, but I've never talked to anyone who's actually been through it. So it's nice to have that reassurance from you. And I guess dump and chase isn't in their vocabulary in
Hey,
Sweden.
it does work though. Being a Canadian, having that style, sometimes it does work because some of these defensemen don't like getting the puck in the corner and having a guy chasing them all the time. So sometimes it does pay off just to get it in and make them chase where you get the puck and you can make a play happen.
You're catching them by surprise. They're not expecting a dump in, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
And
And
how's
yeah,
sorry, you go.
yeah, and like a big adjustment too is when you enter the zone, you're pretty wide from the net. You think you might have a chance to carry it to the net, but it's like, okay, well, I still got to get a bit closer in before I can have a good shot on net here. Versus on our rinks back home, it's smaller, so you have a better shooting angle when you come into the zone here. So that was also a big adjustment too, was just working on different angles as well.
You're just shooting muffins from like 70 feet out because you're at the
Oh,
top of
yeah,
the or something.
you enter the zone and you're on the boards, and you're like, well, I probably shouldn't shoot from this far out, else it's not going to be much of a shot. That's for sure.
I guess the only time you should be shooting from that far is like a big 1T or something.
Oh yeah, for sure. You want to be in line with the face-offs dots when you enter the zone before get a shot on that.
Yeah, that would be a big adjustment actually. Not something you don't really think about off the top of your head.
And
And
I've heard of goalies have the same thing too. Canadian or American goalies who are same thing, used to the Canadian or American rinks, and they come down and they're like, well, the shot angle is kind of a bit different too, and then they got to try to adjust to that as well.
such all those little details they come into play. Like they could just seem minor, like oh, it's just a little wider, but it does
It,
impact the
big
game.
difference. Like whenever we played Leamington, right, or London, same thing. They have the bigger ice, so you got to make a bit more of adjustments on those rinks too.
And they're used to playing on it, right? I always felt
Yeah,
like
that's like even the hardest thing.
yeah, they just had the lungs to play. Like they're used to practicing on those big rinks and skating around.
Yeah, for sure, it's a big advantage.
But going like outside of hockey, like what's the lifestyle like? The city you're staying at and all that.
So I'm currently in Gothenburg, Sweden, which is the second biggest city in Sweden, I believe, other than Stockholm would be the biggest. So it's pretty cool. I'm like right in the city, so it's almost like I'm living downtown Toronto almost. It's like that same vibe. So there's lots to do. There's a lot of nice restaurants, a lot of nice bars, all that stuff. Big mall, and yeah, there's just people are really nice here too. It kind of reminds me of like how Canadian people are very nice people. So similar in that regard too. But I find the Swedish people are definitely a lot more laid back. That's for sure. Not as much like on the go as people are back home in Canada.
And do they speak English?
Yeah, I think Sweden's like one of the top ranked countries in the world where like they speak like English other than their like native language.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
pretty good. Yeah, like most of the guy, like everyone on my team can speak pretty good English. Like I haven't had any issues with anyone.
So you haven't
And then yeah,
learn a new language?
I've learned a couple words, but I'm definitely not going to hold conversations. That's for sure. I might be able to reply to a couple things, or you understand a couple things, but you definitely pick up on a couple words. If you hear your coach saying the same thing over and over again, you'll eventually pick it up.
Like you hear him say, Austin, stop dumping it in. The same
Yeah,
words.
exactly.
I'm just kidding, but
Yeah,
uh,
no, he's our coach is good with that. He speaks mainly English, which is good. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That would definitely be something else that would be, something you'd have to adapt to, which is luckily you haven't had to do that.
yeah, for sure. And
Um,
then mainly if you go to a store or something, the workers pretty much speak English as well. Not really sure if it's a requirement or not, or if it's a tourist attraction. Then of course they're gonna need to speak English, especially in this city because it's a big tourist attraction here from people all over the world. There's a lot of nice historic buildings here, which I think is pretty cool. Don't really have that as much in Canada anymore. They knock them down and build these massive skyscrapers. And that's not a thing here, that's for sure. Their buildings aren't that tall here, which is a nice change.
and have you visited any other countries in Europe?
No, well, I've been to like Italy, Austria, and Germany before when I was like younger. I was thinking grade 11 and 12. I played on like a summer travel team and we went for like a week or two a couple times. So I got to experience that. But as I've been in Sweden, I haven't been able to go like to, let's say, Finland or Norway or Denmark yet. But I would definitely like to, maybe if I got some time after the season, to go check one of those countries out for a bit. So close.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I don't know what countries are part of the European Union, but basically you just drive and there's like no borders. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly. Yeah, that's true. And then also flying, like you can fly from here to, let's say, Finland or Norway or whatever for like $50, $100 round trip type thing.
yeah, that's pretty cheap.
They can't even fly to Vancouver for, like $500. I don't know. Definitely a big price difference.
Yeah, that's for sure. I maybe that's part of the reason why I haven't traveled so much. I don't got the
Yeah.
pocket for it.
Yeah, once you're in Europe, it's quite easy to travel, which is nice. So if you're an adventurous person, it's definitely somewhere you want to be.
And is there anything there like in Sweden, like the chocolate or what food
Oh,
is really good there?
they love their chocolate and candy here. Let me tell you that. You'll see chocolate and candy stores like you've never seen before. It's unbelievable.
The
Like
players
every
bring them like in between periods and stuff.
the odd time, maybe if it's someone's birthday and they bring some for everyone. But yeah, like they have specialty chocolates here that we don't have in Canada. So I always make sure to load up on a couple of things before I go home.
Some
Let the family enjoy
nighttime
some as well.
snacks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
um, I guess one thing that I definitely wanted to get across today was if you had any advice for players that are playing junior and they want to maybe go and do exactly what you're doing, what advice would you pass over to those guys?
Um, for sure, you definitely want to keep working hard when you get on the ice. Take practice seriously, put the effort in every time you're on the ice. And then obviously off ice, I think is a really big important thing. You want to be well conditioned. You want to have that strength. You want to have that explosiveness. So you definitely want to work on some off ice, things too. If you need to get a personal trainer to help, lay the foundation down, definitely do that before you do it on your own because it'll definitely make a big difference when you come out here because these guys are pretty good shape themselves. So you don't want to be too far behind and have a coach tell you, hey, man, you're a little bit out of shape. That's not the best thing you want to hear. But in terms of playing hockey, you want to if you want to come out to Europe, you definitely want to be playing, obviously in a league like the Goj is a good start too, junior A, you put up some pretty good numbers, and then you have to have a video too. You need someone to make you a good highlight package too, showcasing your skills, because obviously these teams from Sweden or Finland or wherever, they don't really have Canadian or American contacts where they can, call a coach that they know and say, hey, do you have any players for me type thing. So they don't really know how your style of play is other than going off your points. But obviously your points don't always tell the story. You might look at some of my points and think, oh, those guys probably sucks. And then, maybe you look at this, some video, you can see I got some skill. And then obviously when you get your chance to come here, you got to show it.
Yeah, I think making a good first impression is huge. Kind of sets the tone for the rest of the season, right? Like, um, are you willing to put in the effort to be ready to go when the season starts? Just tells a lot about your character. So,
Yeah. But I think, yeah, having a good highlight video is definitely one of the most important things. Being able to come out here, like, obviously want to show that you're making, some goals, making some nice plays on the ice, but also like, if you're a good penalty killer, make sure you highlight that in your video, show some penalty killing clips. The teams would really like to see that. What else can you do other than just be offensive? Show some face-off clips. If you're a defenseman, some good breakout passes, some physicality, and, just stuff like that, right?
yeah, for sure. There's a couple guys from Kamoka that went out west, and some of the comments like for the guys that were back here were like, oh, they would have never got picked up you know, if they didn't send in their highlight tape. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, how
Yeah.
else are they going to get found?
If they compare you with a guy, another guy that has, similar points, you send in your video, he doesn't. Well, of course, the team's going to take you. You got some video evidence to back up, your points, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it shows that you like took the initiative, right, to send it over, take the time to put it together and send it to them.
Yeah, it shows that you make the effort to reach out, even, or it just shows that you care that extra mile to set yourself from the rest.
And like you said before, all these other leagues, like they're not watching every single league in the world. Like they don't.
No, there's so many leagues. They got their own Swedish guys they can choose from. They got other European guys too. So you got to do something to show. Okay, why should this team take me, right? And then obviously, if you can find a good reputable agent or advisor that has some contacts, definitely try to use them as well. But I'd suggest doing your own research on their reputations before signing up with any of them.
Yeah, I definitely think if you get the right one and they, legitimately care about you and they're good at doing their job, I think if you really want to do it, I think it's worth the investment.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, again, it gets your foot in the door, right? Sometimes that's all you need, someone to help you get your foot in the door, and then the rest is on you. And once you're in Europe, teams will come find you. That's for sure. If you put in the work, you put in the results, it's gonna go noticed.
Yeah, well, I'm super pumped and for you and your opportunity that you've got, and kind of the story of working your way up the ranks and going across different teams. And like we were saying before, like before we started recording, that you were moved out of your house when you were like 15 or something, right? 14, and billeting. So you were like willing to live away from home to make what you're doing a reality.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you got to make the sacrifice at younger age. Um, so yeah, that for sure is part of it as well. It makes you grow as a person too, right? If you can experience what it's like living on your own, definitely take the opportunity to do it. It'll help you in the long run for sure.
It'll teach you some independence, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. If you don't know how to cook, well, you're gonna learn now when you're living on your own. You don't have your parents helping you do that anymore.
Only so many Don's runs. Gets expensive.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube will become your best friend, that's for sure.
Yeah, they got everything on there, and obviously McDonald's. Not that it's just expensive; it's obviously not good food that
Help.
you should be eating
Yeah,
as an
exactly.
athlete.
Definitely want to take your nutrition somewhat seriously.
Yeah, you got
That's
to have balance, but it's got to be a priority, right? If you're an athlete.
yeah, for sure.
But Meats, thanks for joining us today, buddy. There's lots of good insight in there, lots of good information, and I guess do you want have any words to finish off? For anyone watching this video.
Uh, well, I'm just gonna say keep working hard, keep enjoying the game because you're only gonna be able to play hockey for so long. So, and I think making friendships that last a lifetime like we have right now is honestly one of the most important things with playing hockey, right? So, if you can find that love and that passion, keep going. You never know where you can end up, but towards the end of your career, you only get one chance at it. So, make it count.
Those are some awesome words, and the goal of the video was to educate people on, the pro leagues in Sweden and what the experience is like, and learn from your journey and your experience. And I definitely think that we were able to touch on all those things. So I think it went awesome. Austin, thanks so much for joining me.
No problem. And make sure you guys check out Maietta Sports Media on YouTube for some nice NHL highlight videos.
I'll make sure to link that in the description. I've watched a couple of those videos, and they are awesome. They're very professional. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that Meats, to be honest with you.
Well, it's not me behind those video editing skills. They're actually my brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the man behind the computer making those nice edits.
If you like those NHL edits, definitely go check that out. So I'll link that below.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, thanks, Meats.
No problem.